This recording is about clipping groups, and I want to show you rather than try to explain what a clipping group or a clipping mask is. The use of the words is fairly interchangeable. Photoshop in the past has called these clipping groups. Right now they call them clipping masks. I'm not sure which way they're going to blow in the future, but a clipping group and a clipping mask are essentially the same thing. What you want to know about clipping groups is that they more or less use a layer to create a mask rather than the layer mask creating a mask. They function very much the same way. You can have partial transparency or full opacity, but the layer defines what shows and what doesn't show by the shape of whatever's in that layer. So let's look at this file. All right, on the bottom we have a gradient. Just a nice dark purple to medium purple gradient. The next layer we have some type, and I actually have bevel and emboss on here and drop shadow. I'm going to take that off for just the moment. And then the top layer here we have a flower, and the flower covers up the type, but it's still there underneath. If we change this to 50% opacity, which I did just by hitting the 5 on my keyboard, since I wasn't in any of the typing tools, then you can see right through it. I'm going to hit the 0 on the keyboard to make that fully opaque again. Okay, the way you make a clipping group is either going to the layer pull down menu and go to create clipping group, and you saw the keyboard shortcut for there if you want, which is not something that I learned or want to learn, because there's a very simple way of doing this as well. Hold down the Alt or Option key and see what happens to the cursor over here as I drag between the two. Right there. Let me zoom in here. And you can see as I hold down the Alt or Option key right here, how the cursor changes shape from the hand to that little square with the down arrow that's crossed out. Okay? So that just clicking when it turns to that symbol creates and releases a clipping mask. So that is released. You can see the layers are in their normal position. When I click to make a clipping mask of the layer below this layer, then that means that this layer with the down arrow is confined to the area of the layer below it. And you can have several layers in this. So I could put in another layer above this if I wanted to make a copy of this, bring this up on top and bring this over, and also keep that within the clipping group. You can see how that too, although because of the fact, there we go, I have to move the gradient around so that you can actually see a difference, otherwise it matches the gradient below. You can see that this gradient is confined to the area prescribed by this layer right here. It uses the limits or the edges of this layer in order to define where you can see this image and this image. I'm going to get rid of that one because we're going to just keep this minimalist right now. So you see, we only see the flower through the type. It's like this creates a window. The layer below creates a window that we see this image through. The nice part about this, as you saw a little bit earlier, was that I can add layer styles to it. I'm going to go back here and add the layer style and bevel and emboss and drop shadow to that. And you can see you can get a really cool effect here with the texture and the color of the flower in here, the actual picture of the flower, and then the layer styles on the type layer give it dimension. If I zoom in here, you can see absolutely how cool that is. That's a really nice effect, and that's what a clipping group is. It defines the area of this image to be seen by the shape of this image. If I want to, it can also be semi-transparent. So if I come in here and erase, used a soft edge eraser on this. Let's come in and, oh, sorry, yes, I have to rasterize the layer before I can do that. If I come in here and use a soft edge eraser on this, you can see It works just like a layer mask does, in that it makes that part of the layer disappear above as well, except that this is not as reversible as a layer mask. If I erase those, then they're gone, those pixels. Okay, I'm going to undo that. In order to undo or release the clipping mask, again, you can go up to Layer. I want to be on the top layer of those two. Release clipping mask. There you go. Goes back to seeing just the flower and the type is hidden. Go up to Layer again to create a clipping mask, or hold down the Option, Macintosh, Alt PC, and slide your cursor between those two layers when it changes shape to that little icon with the square and the downturned arrow crossed through. That's when you click, and that releases or makes the clipping group. And that's all it is. That's the clipping mask or a clipping group, and try it out. It's very cool. Especially try it out with doubling a background. So for instance, if I want to make the type pop right out of the flower, I'm going to let go of the drop shadow there. Then you can kind of get that effect of the three-dimensionality of an embossing coming from whatever shape you're doing. So you can try that too. Experiment with this a little bit. It's really cool, really fun, really great way to confine an image to a certain area, or to put an image into type, for instance, or any shape. And it doesn't have to be type, it can be any shape as the base layer. So, and that's it.